All right, as we speak, the president is conducting a series of meetings with the North Korean dictator, Kim Jong-un. They just met, they shook hands, they had a photo op, and tomorrow the president will join us right here on this program for an important one-on-one, and he'll bring inside that room. But we begin tonight. How did we get here? And we want to detail the president's goals, how political opponents of the president are purposely trying to create artificial, unrealistic expectations so that they can say, oh, this is a failure, when we've gotten so much out of this already before it even started. No one predicted that these talks would immediately result in the complete and total denuclearization of North Korea. This is going to be a process, as the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said. Well, the hard work actually begins after the summit. And it's very important to remember what President Trump, what he just said a few days ago. He told us exactly that this is a process. It's a long process. And here's what he said.
Our people have been in Singapore. Our people have been working very, very well with the representatives of North Korea. So we're going in with a very positive attitude, and I think we're going to come out fine. But I've said it many times. Who knows? Who knows? May not work out. It's a good chance it won't work out. There's probably an even better chance that it will take a period of time. It'll be a process.
So this is going to be an ongoing process. Kim Jong-un going, as the president said, he can go at his own pace. He can go faster, he can go slower. Now, obviously, we can't forget the untrustworthy nature of Kim Jong-un and his predecessors. We learned from history. Now, North Korea won't agree to our terms. The president, well, he stated many times he will walk away. That would be the right thing to do. He already canceled this meeting once, and they were kind of begging him to come back. One thing is certain. This president's not going to be duped into sending cash loads of or cargo planes full of cash like Bill Clinton did in the 1990s, promising, oh, they'll never get nuclear weapons. We know that the former president, President Clinton's policy in North Korea was an abject failure. Kissing the rings of despots, it doesn't work. Trying to bribe them doesn't work. Frankly, it's a form of insanity. In order to avoid these historical mistakes and Clinton's blunder, well, we hope, President, and it seems to, leading up to this, well, the president is now following the lead of a predecessor named Ronald Reagan. And just like President Trump, Reagan deployed a policy, a philosophy of peace through strength, trust but verify, a very aggressive military posture. And just like Trump, Reagan had very tough words for America's biggest foe, the Soviet Union. For some of you, you may not remember this, but it's worth learning the lessons of history or we're doomed to repeat the failures. Take a listen.
They preach the supremacy of the state, declare its omnipotence over individual man, and predict its eventual domination of all peoples on the earth. They are the focus of evil in the modern world. So in your discussions of the nuclear freeze proposals, I urge you to beware the temptation of pride, the temptation of blithely declaring yourselves above it all, and label both sides equally at fault, to ignore the facts of history and the aggressive impulses of an evil empire, to simply call the arms race a giant misunderstanding, and thereby remove yourself from the struggle between right and wrong and good and evil.
Right and wrong, good and evil, force of evil, evil empire. It's important to remember President Reagan was not afraid to walk away from the negotiating table. This is very key. Before effectively ending the Cold War, Ronald Reagan, in his 1986 one-on-one talks with Mikhail Gorbachev, without reaching any kind of deal, he walked away in Reykjavik in Iceland. And of course, tonight we have many reasons to be hopeful. Now, already, as I've been saying, in many ways, the U.S. has made more diplomatic progress right here, well, in North Korea or in Singapore than any other previous administration. Kim Jong-un, he dismantled one of his nuclear testing sites. He stopped testing intercontinental ballistic missiles. Remember, he was firing them over Japan, threatening Guam, threatening the entire region, at least temporarily. That was back in December. And he ended all those nuclear tests. He released 3 American hostages. He walked across the DMZ and had friendly talks with the South Korean president, President Moon. And now, for the first time in history, he's sitting down right there as we speak, and without hesitation, without any concessions from the United States. This is a point the media hasn't made. None. Zero. He's given nothing. And we have gotten concessions that nobody predicted. And the president is demanding complete, verifiable, irreversible denuclearization. This is obviously a worthy goal. You care about your kids, your grandkids, you want a safer world. This is a good day for you. At least we have hope. Now, it was primarily achieved. How did we get here? For 2 main strategic reasons. First, President's peace through strength strategy, it works. It works every time. Why don't we follow it? I don't know. He sent multiple carrier strike forces to the region. He ramped up military drills. He tightened the screws on an increased sanctions program. The sanctions alone have crippled North Korea's horrible economy. So make no mistake, in North Korea today, their situation is dire. And Kim Jong-un's kingdom deals with widespread hunger and poverty. That is a threat to his power. And by the way, on a scale we're not seeing anywhere else in the world. And as Kim Jong-un comes here, he could take a look at just how beautiful South Singapore is and say, maybe we can do this in my country. Because the North Korean economy is so distressed. Even Kim Jong-un, remember, reportedly needed financial assistance to get a hotel room here in Singapore. I'll let him stay with me if he wants. I'll sleep on the couch. Anyway, it's a primary way. This is the important lesson. Trump forced Kim Jong-un to the negotiating table through an improved relationship with the Chinese president. China is North Korea's biggest ally, trading partner. Many analysts believe that China holds the key to a safe Korean peninsula. He can pressure Kim Jong-un and his regime like no other country. And so tonight, the world is watching. We're watching here in Singapore. And you still have people on the left, predictably. I've said many times that if the president actually gave $1 million or more to every American citizen, you'd have people on the left saying, why isn't it $2 million? And there are people that President Trump's success is a failure for them. In other words, they want these talks to go nowhere. You think the Democrats want the president to do well here? There are people who have been wrong about Donald Trump, our president, every single step of the way. Some pundits, so-called journalists, fake news, they claim, oh, Trump is leading us to a nuclear holocaust because of his tough words and actions against North Korea. The same people, let me see, they predicted and laughed at the idea that Trump could win the Republican primary. They laughed at the idea he could beat Hillary Clinton. The same people didn't believe that Trump's economic agenda would be this successful in 500 days. The same people who predicted President Trump would already be impeached by now. Now, of course, President Trump won the election. The economy is soaring. We have the lowest unemployment rate in half a century. We have more jobs available in America than we have people to fill them on the unemployment lines. The lowest unemployment rate in 14 states, lowest unemployment record for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, women in the workplace. More jobs available than people on unemployment. Pretty amazing for 500 days. GDP growth, it's at a faster pace than at any time during the 8 years of Obama. Oh, yeah, and President Trump is still in office. No legitimate threat of impeachment, not a shred of evidence about Trump, Russia, collusion. He's constantly wrong in the fake news media. These overpaid, lazy, so-called journalists, really? It makes them look bad when the president's successful and it helps our country and helps the world? Oh, and for Democrats, they want to get back in power. I get it. If he's successful, that doesn't help them. Anyway, once again, this has been on a grand scale. People have underestimated Donald Trump again and again. And sadly, even some of them want him to be failing so they can be proven right. And many are incapable of ever reporting objectively on this president. And by the way, now some are even claiming Trump wasn't prepared for the summit. Oh, they'll never win. Watch this.
He has been preparing for this all along in his imagination. No, there is a difference between studying up for it. This is not a dog who likes to learn new tricks. He relies on the same methods over and over again.
We've been told that Kim has been preparing for months. The president tells us he will depend on instinct, feel, and touch.
What I'm really worried about with President Trump is this whole thing, you know, I'm God's gift, I will go in a moment, and I will know within 30 seconds whether there will be a deal or not, and whether I know the history of North Korea doesn't matter, it does matter.
He said, I've been preparing all my life. I'd love to know, Mr. President, when was that? When you appeared in a Playboy softcore porn movie? Was it when you body slammed Vince McMahon, the head of the World Wrestling Federation? Or was it when you were leaking information, when you were disguising yourself as your own PR guy, talking to tabloids about what a great lover you were?
It's now so obvious and transparent to everybody where these people are coming from. The president said this is something you prepare for your whole life. You don't ever stop preparing. Now, the media, some of their friends in the Democratic Party, okay, they've got their position. We understand. And by the way, if the president succeeds, think about this. Is this good for the world or not good for the world? Good for your kids and grandkids or not good for your kids or grandkids? Anyway, bad news for them. That's sad.